You are listening to the Ebony Covering Black America Podcast Network, presented by Walmart.
This is Holly Cotton, and thanks for tuning into my show, Beyond the Fit, on Ebony Covering Black America Podcast Network. This episode is actually part 2 of the previous episode called Chic Chat, and we had tons of information. We were talking about all kinds of topics, so this is actually the conclusion to the part 1. If you listen to it, if you haven't listened to part 1, listen to that one first. Funny topics, all kind of great stuff you don't want to miss out. In the previous episode, where the discussion was about depression, suicide, mental health, how that's affected during the holidays, things like that. So that's where the conversation is picking back up if you are just tuning in to episode part 2. I agree. Yeah, I think that's great about the resources. I actually was going to say something about that. Because you guys know that I always try to make sure whenever I talk about any kind of topic where it's like something that has numbers, we're not just coming up with this off the top of our head. I'm very factual and logical. So I always try to drop numbers and website and things like that. So I actually looked up information about suicide. And so the Surgeon General right now, he actually has issued an advisory, which is called a youth mental health crisis. So they're saying right now, today, that we are in a youth mental health crisis because of all of this that's going on. So in the article, they talked about symptoms, and this was actually a NY Times article, so very valid. Symptoms of depression and anxiety have doubled during the pandemic, with 25% of youth experiencing depressive symptoms, 20% experiencing anxiety symptoms. There also appears to be increases in negative emotions and behaviors such as impulsivity, which is why they shooting up everything, irritability, always in a bad mood, and also you have the normal issues that they deal with, ADD and ADHD. So anyone that has kids that are listening, like teen kids, and I know Skyla and I have older kids as well, and we were talking about that as well, about being the young adults. And then, and they're saying that 25% of youth are experiencing depression. 25%, like there's an increase of 25% during the pandemic. They're not around their friends. They're not anything. So, I wanted to just maybe have like a little round table about, what are we doing? And I know, Ashanta, you don't have kids, but, you're still a young adult. You guys are still doing stuff. I mean, is anyone dealing with it or, whatever? Or do you have anything you want to, add on to what Lauren was saying?
Absolutely. So no, I don't have kids, but excuse me, I do have the academy where we teach the youth about entrepreneurship. And one thing about them is when they come into, whether it's virtual or a physical room, we ask them, how are you doing? That's the first thing. How are you doing? How is this affecting you? Let's talk about some current events. What is it that you guys want to talk about today? They even
like that mental health check-in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They even do a little bit of fitness. Like we have a paint room where they can splash paint, and they can really get their aggression out. We don't punish them for not behaving. Mm-hmm. We allow them to really get it out. We allow them to express themselves, because a lot of times when you have these issues, it's because it's unexpressed grief. It's unexpressed emotions. And with the youth, they're kind of just being tossed around. There's this whole, this is what we're going to do with the economy. This is what we're going to do with the schools. But nobody has sat down and said, well, youth, what do you think? What's your opinion? So I think just talking with the kids and really figuring out where their head is. And if you're a parent and maybe your kid is at the point to where they don't want to talk to you. I know there was a time when I was 13 and 14, I didn't want to express my feelings to my mom. I wanted to express it to my aunt or to my big sister or to my nanny or to my parent or whatever it was. But still within that, allow those relationships to happen and have them feedback that information to you so then you can put the proper elements in place. And sometimes I know that there's one parent that we have and she's so amazing, but she's not mentally at a place to even deal with her kid who is going through a lot right now. So there's that as well. So just if you are a parent and, just stepping in to say, well, hey, how can I support you as a parent? How can you support me as a parent? Just having that parent network will actually help the children even more.
Right. Excellent. And I think that's so great with everything that you just said and giving them that outlet. And that's kind of what Lauren was saying about, they don't know what to do. They don't have an outlet. And so what I want to do is lead that into Skyla's passion that she has. Like she mentioned before about prison reform. And we're really reaching out, this show's going out during the holiday season of 2021, but someone may listen to it next year. But anyone that's listening now, you're starting to feel this depression of, like Lauren and Ashanta were saying, just, being alone, maybe displaced, whatever. But we forget about the people who really don't have those outlets, like Skyla's mission for the prison reform, like dealing with these people who may be wrongfully incarcerated or have family that deserted them. And they definitely don't have the reason. If we ain't got the resources out here with jobs and whatever, you think they have resources for people? Do they care about their mental health? So Skyla, this is an opportunity for you to educate all of us on some of the things that you found as far as mental health and things like that.
Well, the first thing I just wanted to throw out a few facts. Just, as you were talking before about suicide, the percentage of Black and Brown incarcerated in the United States is 38.2%. So 38% are Black or Brown. The largest age range is 31 to 40, so they're grown, they're adults, but only 13% of Americans are Black. Not even quite 13%. But we have 38.2%.
That's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
Huge. Okay, that's first. I just want to get that out there because that's something that needs to be looked at. Now, something that really, 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 really needs to be looked at, 46%, and this comes from this year's statistics, 46% of all offenses of those incarcerated are drug offenses. I paused for a minute just to let that set in. 46%. That's almost half of all offenses are drug offenses. Now, I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. I'm not here to promote doing drugs. But and the median sentence, the majority of sentences are 5 to 10 years.
Which is ridiculous. And there's kids shooting up schools, right? Mm-hmm.
The majority of people are locked up for drug offenses, and the majority of sentences are between 5 and 10 years. I'm like, WTH. Like, something needs to be done because that's absolutely absurd, and especially when almost half are Black. Okay. So I had to get that out there first because that there's something going on there. And
I love the statistics, because then you're telling people, why is this important? This is, one, it's going to air other places, but this is on Ebony Covering Black America podcast. Yes. Our goal is to educate the Black community. So I love that.
This is hugely important, and people should really wake up. Some people say, well, they committed a crime, so they should be there. Okay. Maybe they did, but they also maybe had a public defender, maybe someone who doesn't really care, someone who's made deals with the prosecution. So they get so many, if they make deals with so many, then they'll get one off that they need off or that they want off. There's so many back things that we don't understand that are absolutely crazy and insane. There's no reason that this many offenses in prison should be drug offenses, especially when weed is legal pretty much everywhere now. So this all needs to be looked at. Okay. So in prison, something that I've noticed, because I have a lot of prisoners, I have an FM radio show. So I have a huge amount of prisoners that I have over 23 prisons that I know of for sure that listen to my station because I get fan mail from them. So this is how I learn about what's going on. I've never been to jail, but this is how I learn about, the things. And this is why it became such a huge mission for me because I just started hearing more and more stories and learning and talking to people and visiting with people. But during this time of year, because of the holidays, we were kind of talking about it's holiday time, they get less visitation time. Well, and with the pandemic, let's talk about the pandemic. So now they've changed all the visitation. They went a whole year with no visits whatsoever. So not only are prisoners locked up, but they had 1 year that they could get over a year. Some of them still aren't getting visits, but a lot of them have opened up visits now. So no visitation. Then they change visitation times so they get less visitation. So now maybe they only get 30 minutes once a week instead of visitation hours throughout the week. So now if your family or loved one can't come during that time once a week, then you get no visits. Also, people out here, all of us, have less money, a lot of people during this pandemic. So they're putting less money on their books or their commissary. So they can't even have access to the things or the phone calls that they need because it's so expensive. The phone system is extremely expensive for them. So, so if they don't have money on their books, they can't do that. They've also tightened up security and what can come into the prisons. So like certain magazines, pictures, cards, like I usually will send cards, like when I get letters and I write back on postcards, like have a great day or choose happiness or joy and sunshine, just cheesy, happy cards. I can't send those in anymore. Those aren't allowed. Anything that's card stock or, so I mean, it's like they keep tightening things up and we're in a pandemic where they could use something, that would make them happy.
Right. And then positivity. Right.
Right. Yeah. And then also I know several inmates who have gotten COVID multiple times.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We're back with Beyond the Fit.
And when they get COVID, they take them either in solitaire or they put them in small groups. They take them out of their groups or whatever and put them in other small groups. So then they're also getting shuffled around quite a bit. And a lot of them haven't even had trials because of COVID. So I know people that have been in for years now and haven't even had a trial, haven't even gone to court because of the pandemic. So they have no outcome. Their lives are just sitting because of the pandemic. It's just absolutely crazy. And then when they get COVID, they can't get meds like we can get meds. So they're allowed aspirin. They can get aspirin from commissary. And I think that's about it. So they can't get the kind of things that we can get to at least alleviate or help some of the symptoms. So they're having to deal with all of that. And I understand, yes, they've broken the law. Some of them are wrongly convicted. But even if the majority of them have broken the law, they're still not animals.
Right.
They're humans.
Right. Right.
To be treated.
Yeah. So, but I do have a couple of ways that people can help also.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, so what can we do to help for anyone that's listening? Perfect.
Okay. So there are a couple of ways. Okay. So there are prisoners that have no family, that the family has completely disowned them or doesn't, deal with them at all. Those are called indigent prisoners. Now the state or government, if they're feds or if they're state, will give them so much a month. Like it's so little, it's not even that much, but so they can get like a toothbrush, they can get like a bar of soap, things like that. But it's not enough for them for the month and that kind of stuff. So there's a group here in Houston that actually collects new, toothbrushes, but they have to be the travel size toothbrushes and they can't have the end thing on them. But I'll have more information on my social media, for everyone on that. And toothpaste, but it has to be a certain kind, and deodorant. And there's actually a minister, I believe, that takes them in, that goes in and takes them to the indigent prisoners so that they can at least have deodorant, toothpaste, and toothbrush. So that's one way that people can actually help.
And that's so sad, Skyla, and when we're talking about mental health, like the fact that you're telling us that basic things that you can go to the dollar store or the Shell station and get, and you're at like, and you expect people that are living in these conditions to have any type of mental health, you know, like I'm depressed. Yeah, I'm depressed just listening to that. Like, I mean, you like, it's just, I don't understand it. And I know we can talk about that on and on because I'm passionate about it too, but to hear you talk about it, but it's just like, we all, which goes to Ashanta's story about someone telling her she needs to get humbled. Like, you have humbled them to such a point, like it's, and you wonder why. And then
you're taking away their humanness, and then you expect them to come out and be able to function in society.
Right. And that's why the reoccurrence is. Right. And then you're stealing some base because you can't even get deodorant. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you go, Skyla. Back to it. I just wanted to interject that, like, for anyone that's listening, like, what does this have to do with mental health or whatever? Because this is a large population. I promise you, everyone that's listening has someone that's a family member, a friend, or someone else that's incarcerated right now, that's been incarcerated. You have no idea what they went through, or that's about to get incarcerated, and they're going to be dealing with this. So you need people that are lobbying for this and raising awareness. Okay, continue.
And please put money on their books. I mean, they call it their books, their commissary, whatever, whatever you want to call it. But they need that. That's how they function in there. But the other thing is, you can buy their art. A lot of guys that are locked up, they're really good artists. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can like buy their, like, guys have ways of doing their art and their artwork. So if anyone was ever interested in that, I could always put you in contact. They always want pen pals. I'm not a pen pal. And so that's kind of different for me. But if anyone just likes to write and wants to write someone, people need people to write, not just as a pen pal, like as a dating kind of thing, but just someone because they have no family and they have no one to talk to. So I didn't mean that.
But if you end up on Love After Lockup, do not blame us. No, we are not telling.
But
we are not out. Skyla already said she ain't the pen pal, so so if you end up on Lockup, we are not responsible. Disclaimer.
No. Yes, no. Yeah, but I mean, those are some ways that you can help without having to do too much, without having to go too far out of your comfort zone if that's not something that's comfortable for you. I mean, when I started my radio show almost 8 years ago, I had no clue any of this. This has been something that I've learned about and that I've become obviously passionate about. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So,
well, I think that was just, that's one, I feel very humbled as an individual out here at how entitled my life is. And even though we work very hard, like just hearing about just the basic things, just the loneliness, like you said, the people that are in jail and they haven't even had a court date, like you don't realize the effects. So I appreciate you for bringing that awareness to us, because those are some of the things that I didn't even know about. So I really think that, that's super important. And then not only that, but to also kind of piggyback on what Skyla was saying, with them going through that, think about the families that are going through that. Think about the kids, like that's somebody's mom or dad or uncle or whoever. Like, we're focusing on them. And like Skyla said, we're not trying to say if they're guilty or innocent or right or wrong or whatever, but we're talking about mental health for this right little part. And think about how that affects, like, I just bust out crying, crying, watching this viral video on Instagram where this girl, the dad went to pick the girl up from school and they said that she hasn't, You saw it, and she like drops all of her books, and he was wrongly incarcerated since she was 1, and she's like in middle school right now, and she like just drops her book. I'm about to start crying just thinking about it because I got the thing in my head, and she drops the books, of course, African American dad and daughter, and like runs to him, and she's like screaming because she hasn't seen him or done whatever. So that plays a huge role, especially on the holidays too. So thank you, Skyla, for all that information. Do you have any information about anyone that wants to do anything for holidays? Do you know anything about, because it's Christmassy? We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We're back with Beyond the Fit. Can we send them a call for Christmas?
I know. What can we do?
I have a friend that is doing, actually on December 18th, I'm volunteering to help give out the toys, but they're collecting toys for incarcerated children of incarcerated parents. So they're collecting toys for that. I do my boys' home, so it's kind of, some of their parents are incarcerated, but they're all foster children. So I do that. So I'm not as much involved in that work for Christmas, but they did ask me to come and help give out toys. So I will be doing that on the 18th of December. So if anyone wants to donate, I can put that up.
Okay, that's good information. So you guys, again, SkylaDawnDotCom is her Instagram handle. So make sure you're following her so you can stay up to date, because she got a great content on Instagram anyway, and she's fine, so you want to follow her anyway, but you can have all this other information that she does do, that she is sharing or whatever, so make sure you're following her for that. So I kind of want to just switch gears from that, because I know everybody is crying and sad now. I'm like, now I'm depressed. Mental health check-in, Ashante. Girl talk, you good?
Tell you.
I know. So what I want to do is just do kind of like a fun conversation about being single around the holidays. And so I don't talk about my personal life a lot. I know people are I post this meme constantly, like once a month. Is she single? Is she dating? Mind your business, because I don't think it's important about that. But I do know, that it's a huge topic. And I think that, you cannot have any type of Chic Chat without talking about, being single around the holidays. And, if you follow me on Instagram, I start in January posting a meme about wearing matching Christmas pajamas every year. So then and then in December, I'm like, here's the meme that says, well, guess no matching Christmas pajamas again this year, because I don't love anybody enough to even post them if they were in matching pajamas. So I do know that for me, I kind of also not necessarily feel depressed, but I do start feeling those pulling on my heartstrings of, how I wish I did have my family of 4 back. I try to be really transparent. I'll always have a love for my ex. We were together 17 years. I'm sad that, we just tried 1,000 times and couldn't make it work. But, I loved having my family for holidays. I love. So it is definitely always a struggle for me. Fortunately, my kids are just like, Mom, it ain't that serious. We rather the happy mom than the miserable mom that, whatever. But, I know that anyone that's listening, for me, I try and do something extra special for my kids. So we usually try to take a trip sometimes, and I'm always like, all right, y'all know that's y'all part of y'all Christmas gift, right? So I try to do that. And as well as make a big deal about Christmas, I try to do a lot of tradition-y stuff for them to take the place of being single. So if anyone wants to chime in, let's just have a conversation about how it sucks. And I'm mad as hell that I do not have no freaking matching Christmas pajamas again this year that I can post a cute picture on Instagram with my onesie. But next year, 2022. So I just want to talk about that, like what it's like being single for everyone around the holidays.
Lauren, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. My kids are younger. I have 6-year-old and 11-year-old. And so it does get depressing because I have to share that time with their dad, so it's like, oh, I got to get my time in with them. And I also try to do traditional stuff with them and with my nephew to get the family together. But when it's time to send them with their dad, it is depressing to just be at home, no matching pajamas with nobody, and just at my own house watching any streaming services, Hallmark Christmas movies by myself. It gets depressing. And I do look forward to a time when I can have a spouse or, man, to be here to celebrate holidays with, Christmas with. It wouldn't feel so lonely, but my kids do bring me joy, and I enjoy the time that I do have with them. But yeah, I'm also mad that I don't have anybody to take my matching pajama pictures with outside of my kids, but we'll see. Maybe next year.
My dog.
Yeah. Oh, Skyla, is that you? Or was that Skyla?
Yeah, that was Skylar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let her go next.
Oh, no.
Okay, I have my dog. And Juju, if you get on my social media, you will see Juju is the love of my life. So, I mean, I'm totally fine. We have matching pajamas, and we always do. So we have photo shoots together. We have the cutest photo shoot. I'll post it tonight so you guys can see it. You know what? I'm totally fine. I've got enough nieces and nephews and family around and friends around. And I've got, like I said, Juju. And Juju doesn't like anyone really anyways. So,
Juju is like, y'all ain't my people anyway. I don't give a crap about your opinion anyway.
Yeah, I'm good.
So for me, I said I wasn't married. No, I'm just joking. No, but I mean, for me, it's not depressing per se because I just go by my family. And you're from New Orleans, Holly, so
even further down from New Orleans.
Well, like those families, there's like they wrap around you. You know what I mean? So I don't ever really feel lonely, but I think for me, I'm not bringing anybody home until I'm engaged. So even if, there was someone in particular, if we weren't engaged, that person probably...
You still ain't coming home with me.
You're probably not coming home to my family because... Number one, that's what they're going to ask. Number two, it's just, I don't want to have different people, coming home. So I just rather, do the person that I know is going to be mine.
No, I totally agree. And that's why I said, I try to clarify when people do come in my DMs and they're like, you in these matching pajamas and I know you're not single and this and that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not even going to post anyone on my page until probably never. Never again. I was married for 17 years. That's probably the only man that ever will get posted on my stuff. That's the father of my kids. But being single by choice is different than being single by force. You know what I mean? And people have to differentiate that. Like you said, you're not coming around my family or I'm not doing that. That doesn't mean I'm not pimping. That doesn't mean that I don't have people that that doesn't mean that I don't have anyone. Don't get it twisted, okay? I could be in matching pajamas if I wanted, but it's about something about settling, and I think that that really makes it in the holidays, I'm just like, settle or not settle, yeah. And then it's just like, you know what? I ain't settling. Why would I take pictures with somebody and they're going to be out? Then y'all are going to talk about me next year because we're not together.
I've had people in my inbox, like, if they'll ask me, are you single? And say I'm dating somebody, be like, yeah, Christmas will roll around and I'll post like a family picture. Well, I don't see your boyfriend in the Christmas picture. Well, I'm not married. You're not going to see nobody until we're engaged or married. We're not going to have a different man in the picture every Christmas. We're not going to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Even if I have someone, I mean, he's going to need to be in pajamas about 4 or 5 Christmases before y'all see him the first Christmas. Like he has work to get in that Christmas picture. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you this, I am working on it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm working too. Well, we diligently working, but it's just so.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys do? Like, okay, so Lauren, I know you said you have to share the holidays with your ex. So what are you guys like? Do y'all split like Christmas Eve to Christmas Day?
Yes. So we will be splitting. He'll have them for Christmas Eve, and then I'll get them Christmas Day, and then like the middle, like the 28th, he'll get them back for the rest of his Christmas holiday. School holiday. So, I mean, I don't mind it. It's not like I'm traveling, going back anywhere for Christmas. So it works for us. But it's still different, having to share your child. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the perk that I have with my co-parenting situation is I don't have to share. They just with me all the time, every day, all day, every day, every holiday, every birthday, everything. So that's the silver lining. But yeah. I mean, my kids are grown. I mean, 16 and 21. So they really, I mean, my son, I dread when he's going to be with his own family. It's coming soon. I'm like about to be 22. Somebody's going to swipe him up at some point. So that makes me sad about it too. Because then I'm like, I'm going to be single. Like, I'm going to be like. Single? Somebody. Me and Ashanta are gonna be doing Christmas together because we single, okay? I'm looking at Christmas cruise one year after COVID.
I'm hooking everybody up with somebody.
Well, I'm so picky. Don't. I when I was on Bumble for 3 days, I was swiped the other way so many times. I was like, okay, there's nobody left. There's like no matches left. I'm like. Oh, okay. Guess this ain't it.
Go out and we'll be fine.
Yes, right. Because she's fine. If you're not following her, you better follow her, okay? Because Ashanta is working it. So thank you. So we're gonna split this episode up into 2 parts. And so you guys have already watched the part 1 has played and it's going to be there. And then this is just the last topic of part 2. So make sure you guys are tuning in. Anybody that's listening or listening or watching, this is going to be a 2-part episode because we had so much great information. So I just want to have this last topic that we're going to talk about. And this is really like what we're going to talk about when we do more of our Chic Chats and, we have this summit or whatever. But a lot of us, we've talked about being single. We've talked about being in relationships. We talked about things that are happening. We've talked about mental health. And I think the one thing that we haven't talked about that people or watching or whatever is how we as women stay sane and how we define our joy. Like how important it is, which I know, Lauren, this is a huge passionate point for you whenever we're talking about domestic abuse and things like that. But I know that like a lot of people ask me all the time, like, oh my God, like I can't, like I'll post something, they're like, oh my gosh, you're a cancer survivor, or oh my gosh, you have kids, or oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. Like people are amazed and they don't realize you actually have a life because you are showing this happy side, you're showing this personality, you're showing this part, and that's why I try to be transparent about things that I'm going through. But I just want us to kind of have a discussion and talk about like, this isn't a fakeness. Like this is us being real and being happy where we are in life right now. Like, no matter what happened, no matter what we're going through, I know, Ashante, I know it's hard being business. I know you got to sacrifice a lot of your friends. You got to, like, people don't understand, even me being an entrepreneur with multiple stuff and having a business also, like, I don't have time for bull crap. Like, I don't. And so, this happy face and this person that's at peace, this is my real personality. I don't have time to fake to be someone else to impress anyone else. So, so I just wanted to just talk about that, like, of the importance of how it is to hit that rock bottom and go, higher. And I'll start with me and then Lauren. And if you guys are listening and you aren't watching the audio, we're on a call and everyone has a camera picture up, and Lauren is first, and then is Ashante, and then Skyla. So that's why we just keep going around the circle. But if you're listening and you're just listening to audio, you don't know. But for me, I always talk about, like, pretty much my breakthrough was, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 36. And I tell the story all the time. I mean, I even wrote a book called Strong More Than Muscles about it because I wanted to tell my story. And I really did. Like, I thought that I had the perfect life. I thought that I had it going on. I was working, I had kids, and I mean, still going through all of the stuff that goes with being in a rocky relationship and kids and all of that. But, physically, I thought I was in the best shape of my life. I was doing pull-ups all the time. I was doing all of this stuff. And when I found that lump as a nurse, I already had diagnosed myself and diagnosed my treatment. Like, I already knew what the next step was. I just needed it to be there. And when I tell my story, I tell people how after I went through 2 surgeries, reconstruction, and how for 3 months, I couldn't even raise my hands to put my hair in a ponytail. I couldn't even bend over to shave my leg. Like, I mean, I look like a grizzly bear. Thank goodness I have laser now. But, like, to be humbled where you think that you can do, 20 pull-ups and you're in the best shape of your life to where you can't even bend over to shave your legs. And I remember crying in the shower when I finally was able to extend my arm enough to reach to shave my leg. And it was a humbling experience. And I am a firm believer that if you don't humble yourself in whatever it is that you're doing in life will humble it for you. Like, I was doing so much stuff. There were so many things that I was like, I cannot believe that I actually was like arguing with these family members from my my in-law side. Like, I can't believe I gave them that much power over me. I can't believe that I was dealing with this and fighting with this and doing this. Like, now I feel like when I hit rock bottom, that was the breakthrough that I needed to have, where I needed to realize what is really important to me. And it wasn't that crap, that's for sure. Like, that wasn't going to save me. That was killing me. So I think that that's my story about where I found my joy. And it was from that breakthrough that came from that ugly thing. And it actually brought my family together. Like, everyone was able to come together. Now, of course, I'd rather me not be the one with cancer. Right. For the kumbaya, but like, that was a huge thing. So, if like, that's how I find my joy. So I kind of just want to end on that topic for everyone. Like, how are you finding your joy?
So, I would have to say my rock bottom was in my abusive relationship, and my abuser was a narcissist. And, when you have somebody strangle you and hold you at gunpoint and threaten to kill you, and you have no way out, I personally thought about, okay, my only way out is to take my own life. But then I thought about my children, they're going to be with their dad. They're going to have to live with this. I cannot protect them if I do not get myself together and get myself out of this, because I'm the only person that can protect them. Right now, it's me getting the abuse, right? Because I'm the adult, and right now he's focused on me. But if I'm gone, it's going to be them. And as a mother, you protect your children. Like, you will fight to the death for your kids. And so my kids really helped me pull myself together. And also my relationship with God as well. You know, my breaking point with him was one day he got mad about a dish being dirty. And he literally told me, if you say another word, I'm going to punch you in your face and knock your teeth out. And in that moment, I could hear the Holy Spirit say, are you going to wait until he does that? Are you going to wait until he does something that you cannot come back from? He might take your life, because it would get worse. The abuse would get worse. So I began to pray. I strengthened my relationship with God, and I asked for a sign. Show me what to do. I don't know what to do. Show me. And very clearly, I was watching a sermon. The pastor said, is somebody out there trying to get out of a situation? Just be patient. God is going to help you get out. And, I waited. And one day he was going out of town. And he said, I'm going out of town next weekend. And that moment, the Holy Spirit said, it's time to move. You need to start making your plan so you can get out. And I did it all for my kids. If I didn't have kids, or if I didn't have a support system like I had, I probably would still be in that relationship, or my life would have been taken, because they drove me, they pushed me, protecting them and thinking about them and thinking about how they need a healthy mother to take care of them. That pushed me to do better, to get out, to find a better situation for them. And I did. I got out. I left when he was out of town, and I never looked back. I never went back. And of course, I had a very strong support system with my family and friends that helped me. And it helped that I was a nurse and that I did have a degree, so I could work and make my own money. But knowing what I know now, and the things that he put me through, and the red flags I didn't see in the beginning, I want people to know, I want people to understand, this is not normal. When somebody acts like this, it's not normal. So I want to educate people on narcissistic behavior, or just negative behavior, to find it out early on, and not end up in a year-long relationship or years down the road, and you're stuck and you feel like you have no way to get out. And I also, it does bring me joy, because when I talk about it, people reach out to me and they'll say, hey, you inspired me to plan to get out, or you helped me with the courage to move, and that if I can help one person have the courage to move out or get out of a negative situation and not be killed, I feel like I'm doing something. So if my story can help other people be successful and not make the same mistakes I made, I feel like I'm doing something right in my life.
Right.
Okay. I want people to learn from my mistakes and not go through the same mistakes that I went through.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. So for me, I would say most recently, it's my relationship with God. And most recently, meaning the last 6 years. It's my relationship with God. Every day I don't wake up super happy. Every day I don't wake up on 10, but I know that I control myself. And sometimes I have to tell myself, look, Ashante, you're going to get up. You're going to do what you got to do. And this is why. And this is what you're going to do. And if I can't do that, I'll text my cousin. I'll text a friend. I'll listen to my Rick Warren podcast. I'll do something to really, really, really keep going, because ultimately I know that it could be way, way, way worse. Whatever it is, like how Skyla was talking about, you can be in jail somewhere. You could be in, critical care. You're alive. You're healthy. God has blessed you. You have to figure it out. Now, this whole process started probably about 9 years ago when I moved to Houston. And I was here for actually a vacation. And during that time, I looked around and I'm like, I'm not going home. I'm staying in Houston. This place it had New Orleans food, it had New Orleans people, but it was almost like if New Orleans had a booming economy to a certain degree. It was so much like home. And I'm just like, I'm never going back. And I just had a suitcase full of bathing suits. And really, I figured it out. And I think the most important part was I went to Joel Osteen's church, I think like the second or third day that I was here. And I just started listening. And I started learning who God said that I am. Like outside of being the youngest of my family, outside of all of that stuff, outside of exterior, outside of profession, outside of monetary, whatever, just who is it that God has called me to be? How does he see me in my rawest form? And as I started learning that, then to me, even when I'm down or even when I'm not feeling well, I know that I'm the king's kid. And I know that Jesus loves me, and I know that God loves me. And I know that no weapon formed against, like all these things, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I know that I don't have to be perfect to be loved. I know that God loves me when I don't get it right, when I make the wrong choice, whatever the wrong choice is, it's all working for my good. And because I understand who God is in my life, then I don't have these ridiculous expectations of myself anymore. And I used to have these expectations like, oh, you have to be perfect, or you have to be this, or you have to be that. But now I understand that I'm perfect because God has called me. And I think when you understand that and you understand how he's called you and who he's called in the past, like Moses, Joseph, all these people who, they probably would have been in jail if they were living today. But God,
right.
Right.
And we can talk about them with prison reform.
Absolutely. So God called them, God used them. So for me, I've never been in jail. I've never done any of those things. And not to say those people that are in jail are, they can't be used, but right. I'm having a tough day. I could surrender that to God. And so that's really what I do. And again, I make sure that I have supportive people around me who are confident within themselves. That's very important. Who are happy where they are in life. Because if you're confident in yourself and happy where you are in life, then you won't be threatened by certain things. So when I'm calling you and I'm saying I'm having a down day, I'm having an up day, it's all about support of each other. So that's just really the way that I find my joy, the way that I keep my joy, and the way that I keep just going in life in general.
And I think that's great. And so I just wanted to piggyback on that too. Like, even if you aren't religious, what Ashanta is saying, that you are still spiritual. You're still a spiritual being. And when you find your purpose, or when you find what it is that brings you to that holistic state where your mind and body and soul are at peace, then that's what you need to hold on to. So it's okay to be broken. It's okay to not be the best version of yourself today. It's okay to give yourself a reprieve. What we're saying when we're giving our stories about finding joy is that you got to find what works for you. And these are our stories. This is how we are saying that we're at, this is when we get to the bottom and how we've come to the top, or when we're having bad days, or when we're on our way to the bottom and it don't feel quite right. Like, what are those interventions that we need to do, whether it be spiritual, whether it be something else, whether it be figuring out how to get out of the situation, or, even with my story, it's, coming from being broken to becoming the strongest version of myself right now. That's my way of dealing with it. So whatever it is that you're going through, find what brings you peace. You got to find it. And that's the thing I always talk about. Anyone that I'm training, anytime I'm talking on my show, I always talk about that. Guess what, dear? Nobody's coming to save you. It's you. You got to figure out how to do it. You got to get yourself out the gutter. Nobody's coming to shave your legs. Nobody's coming to pull you out of a bad relationship. Nobody's coming to save your business. Like, it's you. And as much as we want to blame someone else, as much as people, you can buy all the courses in the world and all the materials and all the ebooks and everything else to tell you how to do this and how to do that. Guess what? It's still on you. All of that's going to waste. So anyway, great shows, guys. I cannot wait for our listeners to chime in on all of these topics. So at the end of my show, I always do something called a life check. If you guys have read my book, Day One, I talk about it every show. Go buy it. Go buy my e-course. Get your life right. And so I always do something called a life check, which is basically where we go in and we reiterate what we've talked about today. So what I just want to do is a lot of information. So I want to do a quick life check. So, excuse me, life check. When you see those red flags with dating, get out of the situation. When you see those red flags when you're meeting someone in this technological age and it ain't right, don't settle just because you're lonely. We talked about that. Get those red flags. As soon as you start getting whatever it is your red flag, get out. Do not settle. We talked about, the depression and the kids. Make sure you're doing those mental health check-ins. Like Ashanta said, they're giving them outlets. They're doing this. You have kids. If you are a parent, those are the things that you need to be doing in your home. You are responsible for those kids as well as yourself. And I know it's hard. It's hard being a mom. It's hard being a career woman. It's hard. It's just hard. But you know what? When you're responsible for someone else as a parent or as a guardian, as an auntie, as an uncle, as a godmother, whatever, it is your role to also be helping them with their mental health. It's not just making sure they have food to eat or whatever. Like, focus on that mental health. We went over the statistics. We went over statistics about, prison reform and what's going on in our prison systems and how you can help and things like that. If you want to do something around the holidays, if you want to help someone, make sure you're reaching out, make sure you're doing that. Even if you don't use the resources we are giving you, find your own resources in your own area, wherever you live. I promise you, there are a group of Chic Chat Summit members where you are that are trying to make a difference where you are. So make sure you don't do that. We talked about how it is. I know it's hard. If you guys listening to this during the holiday season to be single, it might be your first breakup. It's your first holiday with the kids. Don't give up. Stay strong. Keep pushing. Just remember, it's okay. It's okay to be single. It's okay. Hang out with your friends. Find some family. Do something. I promise you, there's a whole group of single people that are looking for other single people to do stuff with. So do not feel alone. Do not feel depressed. Now is not the time. And the final thought that we want to leave you guys with is you have to define your own joy. You have to define your own strong. You have to define you. No one can do it for you. You're given tools. You're given advice. You're given all of this, whatever, even the stuff that we gave you. But you have to find your own purpose. We cannot give you your purpose. We can't. We want to, but you can't. Your purpose is what is for you. What brings you peace? What's going to help you? No one can tell you what to do. And the good thing about that is once you find you, guess what? Can't nobody take it from you. Okay. You got that. You own it. And no matter what happens in life, it is yours and no one can ever take it from you again. So sometimes being broken, you come out even better on the other side. So again, great shows today. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for being part of the Chic Chat today. Super excited. And then, like I say all the time, you guys, we want to make sure on Beyond the Fit that we're going beyond just looking fit. We want to make sure that you are the fittest and the strongest version of yourself inside and out.